Hi, everybody. Welcome to another one of the Davis Food Co-op chats. Today, we are gathering to celebrate a couple strong women within the Davis community. It's also Women's History Month. And last week, it already passed, was International Women's Day. So my name is Madison. I'm the Education and Outreach Specialist here at the Davis Food Co-op. And I'm here with a few of our panelists. A couple of our panelists are running a little bit behind. So we might have a few panelists who are just coming in a little bit late. So far here with us, we have Brady.
Sorry, still getting used to the unmute thing. I'm Brady. I manage the Rocknasium climbing gym in town, and then also an outdoor climbing guide.
Great. Okay, and then also here with us, we have Tracy.
Hello, I'm Tracy Tamaski. I'm CEO of Leaders Evolving, Inc. More appropriately, I'm COE, Chief of Everything. And I'm a leadership coach and consultant. I work with leaders like superintendents, principals, directors, anyone in a management or leadership role on their individual skill development, their teams, as well as the organizations as a whole. And then part of my give back to my community is working with the Davis Phoenix Coalition. And I'm vice chair, and you know, our mayor, Gloria Partita, founded the Davis Phoenix Coalition to create a community that is inclusive, free from hate crimes, and where everyone knows they are important and that they belong.
Great. Okay, so to get us started, I have a few group questions for both of you. So the first one is, what has been the most rewarding piece of your personal achievements? And we'll start again with you, Brady.
The most rewarding part of my personal achievements of honestly just being able to see the growth in so many of the staff that I've been able to manage and being able to promote them, people with diversity, women, and just so many really great people to fuel their careers and see where they wind up.
Great. And what about you, Tracy?
You know, for me, seeing my clients, the leaders develop skills, transform into stronger, more compassionate, courageous, open-minded leaders, because leaders have such influence, right? And so to watch people challenge beliefs that no longer serve them and develop their skills is really rewarding. It's a blessing to work with my clients.
Yeah, it sounds like even though you two are in very different fields, you both find the same part of your careers rewarding. You guys both find the like training new staff and helping people improve themselves, which is really great. The next question I have for both of you is, what barriers do you feel you've had to overcome as a woman in your industry? So we'll still start again with you, Brady.
In my career, oh no, did I exit out of it? Is it still open? Still open. Okay, great.
Good.
In my career, I think the barriers I had to overcome was in the climbing industry. Strength is just brute force strength and muscle really gains a lot of respect. And my flexibility was always going to help me out a lot more than my strength in my climbing realm. And so that was a little bit hard to overcome, that I couldn't quite climb as hard as some of the climbers that were going professional route rather than more of the like climbing industry guiding, teaching route. And so I had to adapt a lot and actually just gain years of experience and do a lot longer climbs rather than the shorter, harder ones. I got to do a lot of like multi-day sleeping on ledge climbs, and then also just like rack up 20 years of climbing experience to be able to gain that same respect that people who could climb, you know, the hardest route in Yosemite could get. I had to compensate with years of experience and then also a lot bigger.
Yeah. Okay, so Tracy, I am going to move on to you in just a second, but another one of our panelists just joined us. So we also have Violet here with us. Violet,
Hi.
can you just give us a little introduction for yourself?
Okay. Our product is Tata Raw, sprouted organic walnuts. And I'm sorry my video is not working. I'm not sure what to do. So I apologize for that. So that's what we do. We soak the walnuts and sprout them so you're able to digest and assimilate the nutrients in the walnuts. And that's important because walnuts are superfood for your brain, your heart. They're a huge cancer scavenger. So it's really important to actually digest and assimilate the nutrients when you eat them. And so that's why we work so hard to let you do that.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so Violet is the owner of Tata Raws, and she is a vendor here at the Davis Food Co-op. And then this last question that I just asked, Brady already answered it, but I'm going to repeat it again. And then Tracy, I'll have you answer, and then we'll move on to Violet. So the question was, what barriers do you feel you have overcome as a woman in the industry? And Tracy, will go to you.
Sure. Gee, mad respect for Brady. You're what you're overcoming, sleep on the edge or whatever, on climbing on the edge. Yeah, that's good for you. I think in my industry really is men typically are given automatic credibility, right? So when they come with their clients into an organization, they're automatically given the benefit of the doubt. I think as a woman, unless people know me, and if I'm going in cold, I have to work a little harder to develop the relationship with them, to develop the trust, and it just maybe takes a little bit longer. If obviously people know me, then that barrier doesn't exist. But if I don't know, if it's someone I don't know, and again, particularly men, right, is it just takes a little longer to build that trust.
Great. Okay, so Violet, how about you?
What was the question? Was what have I had to overcome as a woman? You said, is that?
Yeah, a woman in your industry.
I haven't had that roadblock. I honestly can't say that I've had that because I'm a woman. Maybe I didn't recognize it when it was happening. I don't know.
Well, that's great. That's very fortunate. I know that also sometimes I was speaking to a friend of mine the other day, and they were saying they also haven't experienced that as a woman, but maybe it was just because they were so focused on getting the job done that when there were any barriers in their way, they just didn't even notice it being caused by their gender because they were focused on what they were doing and they were going to blow through the barriers anyway. So yeah, that's great. Okay, so the next question I have for you is, who has influenced your life? This is a broader question. And Brady, we'll start with Brady again.
Okay.
Influential in my life, my sister helped raise me a lot, and she's a very strong individual, and she played a huge role in me seeking out more business realm positions. And so it's always really cool that I have her as a mentor to lean on. But then also a lot of climbing partners I've had who gave me a lot of trust and a lot of credit early on, and trusted me with their lives and gave me that inspiration to, believe in myself and to help support others in that way too. I'll pass it along to Tracy.
Yeah, well, I have something to add on to that, Brady, though. I just think, especially with climbing, you really have to have a lot of trust in the people that you're climbing with, because it's literally your life, especially if you're doing day trips on the edge of a cliff. So being able to have people early on in your career and in your lifestyle of climbing, I'm sure it was great for your confidence. To help you grow a lot, to have those people in your life. Okay, now
Madison, you've climbed before too, so you totally get that as well, the whole trusting and having male and female partners, and how the different dynamics go with that, of who gives you those opportunities and who might take them for themselves too, you know, to get up and speak out for yourself, or, you know, get the client that you want, or get the promotion that you want, or things like that.
Yeah, and get the encouragement that you want. I feel like for me personally with climbing, that's what I need the most, because my own barriers are in my own head with fear. So yeah. Okay, now we'll move on to Tracy.
Sure. So I when I think of who has influenced my life, I kind of would break it up as a child and my grounding, and then as an adult. And as a child, I have an Aunt Nita. She's still living. She's 80. She lives back in Pennsylvania, in the coal regions of Pennsylvania. Really a remarkable woman. She taught me how to be independent, how to follow my own path, acceptance, the importance of taking care of your neighbors, your friends, the importance of spiritual grounding. And she was she just modeled those qualities, and somebody that I've admired my whole life, and somebody who I wanted to emulate and hopefully do. And then as an adult, I would say it's my spouse of 28 years. And Alina is, she's influenced me because she is, I would call her like the female version of Fred Rogers. She's so gentle and so kind. She's unconditionally loving, and her belief in me is like, you know, something I've never experienced. She believes I can do anything, and just having that. So having the solid grounding from my aunt, and then being blessed to spend the last 28 years with somebody who loves me unconditionally, and with that gentleness, and that I can do anything. Well, here I am with my, you know, where I am today. So both of those people have influenced me significantly.
Yeah, I feel like that's so important to have like surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up. So having a lifelong partner, or having a friend or some siblings or an aunt who will continuously lift you up and inspire you, that's really important.
Absolutely.
Okay, Violet, now we'll move on to you. Who has influenced your life?
I would say the most influence on my life has been my parents, actually. They were just unconditionally loving and just great parents to have. I think they were the greatest on earth, actually. And I built a lot of self-esteem from them. And just like you had said just now, bulldozing your way through anything, be it race or gender or anything that is supposed to be a roadblock or challenge. I've never been able to see any of it because I'm just focused on what I'm doing, regardless of what's going on all around me, and knowing that I'm the center. So so they put that in me, and I'm grateful for that. Also, with this product, especially, it happened because my mom was sick, and a lady called Queen Afua in Brooklyn, New York, had put her on a raw food diet. And my mom, who was bedridden, really skinny with a really bulging belly from liver cirrhosis, just was almost normal in like 2 weeks on a raw food diet. It was just a miracle. I couldn't believe it. So that inspired me a lot, and that's why I'm on this journey right now. And that's where it all started. I saw how all her liver enzymes went back up, and all the doctors said, you know, it was going to go down and die and all that. So in 3 weeks, she was up and about, you know, going around, lifting heavy stuff. I mean, just really normal, back to herself. And but then in a few weeks, a few months, I would say, she got tired of just eating fruits and salads every day. And we all know how that can be. So, I mean, for every meal. And then she went back to the SAD diet. And so I could see her degeneration again when that happened. So when your body is trying to fight a disease, it takes a while to build it back up. It takes a while to heal because it takes a while for that disease to form. It doesn't just happen in one day. So when you're trying to when you're trying to heal yourself with raw live foods, you need to do it for a long time, maybe a year, maybe two. So that's why I'm doing what I do now. I want to make raw foods exciting so people could stay on it longer and heal their bodies. So we also chose walnuts because we feel that's optimum food. It's a healer for the body. It scavenges most free radicals in the body when digested properly. So yeah, that's my influence, and that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, that's great. So off of something that you said a little bit earlier, you said that you were you're the center of your world. And I watched a little video the other day. I think it was on Instagram or something. And it was just a woman
Really?
who was talking about how she was the lead in her movie. And I think that's a really great way to think about it. If you're not going to be the lead character in your own life, in your own story, if you're not going to be the center of your own world, then how are you going to be able to break through those barriers? And for you, you had parents, you had a support system really, really on who was able to teach you that you are the character of your story. And yeah, that's so great. So
Thank you.
I feel like you've already answered this question also a little bit, but I have another question for you, Violet, and that's what inspired your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, yeah, I did answer it. It was, seeing my mom sick as she was, bedridden, and then seeing her up and about in just a matter of a couple of weeks on a raw food diet, and learning about the healing miraculous power of the food that God made. So without processing and, cooking and all that. So that really stayed with me. And so I've been pretty much on that path since then. And I just want to spread the word and tell people and reach people with this good news and tell them that, you could heal your body. You really can reverse a lot of things happening in your body by removing processed food and junk foods and just eating the food the way God made it. So that's what I'm trying to help do with our line of sprouted walnuts.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to switch gears a little bit. This question is a lot different, and this question is for Brady. Rock climbing is generally a male-dominated field, if that's correct. And what is some advice that you would share with young women and young people entering a male-dominated profession?
I'm sure Tracy could speak on this too, as a lot of realms of business are male dominated. Climbing definitely was when I started. It's definitely stepped up in its diversity as of late. But the advice I guess I could give to someone entering a male dominated industry is just to look at the traits that are respected in that industry. As every industry respects different characteristics, different traits, really look at that industry and being like, who's getting promoted? Why? And those questions of like, what character traits do they have? And then start analyzing which ones you need to develop and pour more time into in order to be competitive at that level. Is really studying the industry, studying the business even that you want to work for, and start to realize what characteristics and traits are deemed as respectful or managerial or entrepreneurial, and then start developing those.
Great. I don't know, Tracy, if you wanted to add anything to that also.
Well, not necessarily. You know, I don't look at my industry as male dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Necessarily, so it's probably just a little bit different set of skills, but if you're a leadership coach, I mean, obviously you're it's important you're developing your own leadership, right, and your own skills and confidence in that area.
Yeah, and then you're also helping all people who want to become leaders develop the skills that they need to be successful leaders. So Brady has said you need to develop the skills that you want to be successful. And Tracy, you can teach them all those skills that they need to be successful.
Right. Make a good team, Brady.
Yeah.
Tracy, I have a question. Were you deemed as a nurturer leadership style when you were first starting out in this field?
Oh gosh, interesting. Oh, because I'm a woman, you think that I'm more nurturing? Is that, yeah?
That's what I found in my field, is that when we started out in leadership and like outdoor leadership and stuff, most of the women got deemed as a nurturing character style, and then we're put in roles to exude those rather than to promote other skill sets, but rather to really lean into the nurturing.
Yeah,
I wonder
that's
if you had that same instinct.
Much. My style's a little bit different. It's not that I'm not nurturing, but I'm also, you know, I believe in kind of speaking directly with people, and be certainly humanistic, right, and respectful with people. But my style's a little bit different than nurturing.
That's great. That's great. I was wondering if you got put in that box for a while or not.
Yeah, no, I think when people first meet me, interesting, coming from the East Coast also, we tend to be more direct folks, right? You know, and when I came to California, that was a big adjustment for me. So I lead with being more direct, being outspoken, kind of speaking my truth professionally, respectfully, gently, but I think they put me out of that box pretty quick.
Okay, so the next question that I have is for you, Tracy, and it's, as the founder of Learning Evolving, what has been the most significant barrier in your career?
So I think I would look at this question maybe more from the area, I would call it my challenges rather than a barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it is that transition from working for someone else, where you go to work, you do your thing, and then at the end of the month, your paycheck shows up in your bank account. You have if you're blessed to have health insurance or days off, sick days, whatever, all of the behind the scene things are done for you. So it's the decision fatigue I would say is my biggest challenge, because when you're responsible for everything, right? You're looking at, what will my business be? What's the content of it? What's the name of it? What's the structure? Should I be a sole proprietor? Should I be LLC? Should I be an S corp? What's my the logo gonna look like? The branding gonna look like? My website? My the payroll? All of those decisions are now mine, right? And so if I use the word barrier, I probably would say I'm the barrier, because I choose to be the CEO, chief of everything. Originally, I thought I would maybe have a team and maybe have employees. That was my intent initially. And then as I got into it, it didn't go. I just chose not to do that. And so I think the decision fatigue is it's a challenge, but again, I'm one to adapt, you know, as I go over, under, to the side, whatever I have to do, kind of move right through it. And I think I didn't know what I was getting into before I started, which is probably a good thing, because once you're on the path, you know, those decisions it's kind of fast and furious, and you just make them as you go along. It's a challenge, but certainly one that has been really fun, you know, challenge after challenge to work through and get to the other side.
Yeah, while you were a student and early on in your career, did you imagine yourself owning your own business one day, or did it just happen?
Yeah, it kind of just happened, right? Late in my life. You know, I was in leadership and management roles for 25 years. And it came at the time when it felt like my next step was to have my own business, to take all of what I learned and to teach other leaders and coach other leaders. And so I felt the best way to do that was to open my own business. And so I've met a lot of great people who've helped me out along the way, but I certainly had to go out and seek them. And if you had told me, you know, when I was at kind of that pivotal time to make a change, and I realized I could do anything right now, and I could make any decision to be whatever I wanted to be in the next steps in my career. I wish I had learned this years ago, because it has been challenging and rewarding, and an amazing experience. One I definitely wouldn't trade.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Okay, so I have one more question for all of you. Before I ask this question, I'm just going to go ahead and say to any people who are watching over Zoom or anyone who's watching on Facebook Live, now is a good time to ask any of your questions. And once we get through this last question, then we'll have a little bit of time for us to sift through any questions all of you may have. Okay, so this question, and we'll start with you, Violet, for it, is what is the best piece of advice you could give another woman or woman in business, or what is the best advice you have received that you would want to share?
Okay. I think my best advice really for anyone is always to step out in faith. That's my biggest advice. I feel it has led me places I would not otherwise have gone. So just taking a leap of faith, I think, is really important. It makes the universe know that you trust it, and it catches you. You don't fall. So that's my biggest piece for everyone. I've learned to take leaps of faith, and it has really taken me places. And I would wish that for everyone. Feels good.
Yeah, it feels good to trust yourself and have confidence that when you make these changes in your life or take big strides, that you will succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
feels
universe always
good.
comes, God or the universe or our creator, it always comes as long as you decide and you take that step of faith. There's something on my refrigerator that says, start to weave and God will provide the thread. So that's how I live, and I think that's the biggest thing I could share with everyone.
Brady, we'll move on to you. What about what advice would you pass along?
To not sell yourself short. I think that there was, especially in my industry, there was always some male who was gunning for something, you know, and it was always a little bit more of an egotistical business realm that I kind of walked into. And I think that giving myself the credit and being like, no, I deserve this as well. Like, I'm going to go for it. And so just to not sell yourself short, and to go for opportunities if you feel it aligns with you and you feel led that way. Because there's always a reason not to do something.
But there's an even better reason to do it, especially if it's something that you're really passionate about and something that you know you can do well in. You just have to be honest with yourself. I know I can do a good job at this, and I need to make sure that the person who would be promoting me also knows that I know I can do a good job at this. Yeah, that's great advice. What about you, Tracy?
Awesome. So let's see, I think a couple pieces of advice that I would share. One is this idea of recalibration. Recalibration it keeps you moving forward. And I learned this in two ways. And it also allows you to take a little bit more risk. I thought when I originally started my coaching business, I was going to be coaching women. I thought that, okay, this is what it's right in my path. And I just know I'm going to be coaching women to be leaders. And then all of a sudden I was noticing the universe kept sending me these men as clients, and these men kept showing up, and I'm like, what is going on? And I wasn't quite understanding it, but I thought, all right, go with the flow here. This is what's coming in your path, do it. And I realized that a very important thing that men, I don't want to broad brush here, that it was important for me to help coach men to prepare work environments for women leaders to step up, to come into it, because it's environments aren't always ready for women just to come in as leaders. There definitely has to be some work on the biases that some men have, right? And so I learned that but then I started getting a mix of people and clients, and it was fine. But recalibrating my attitude really led me into, I think, some significant changes for people. And the other thing is, I learned this when I started my business. It was called Chrysalis Coaching, because I thought, oh, what a great name, Chrysalis Coaching. It's Chrysalis about transformation. I could probably have the better butterfly as my logo. I was really excited about this until people were starting to say to me, what's a chrysalis? How do you spell that? And I thought, oh goodness, this is not going to work. This is not good for a business. And so I had to pretty quickly decide on a new name. And then, of course, make sure nobody has that name, and it's a whole different, a different path, but a whole different journey. But recalibrating is not seeing it as a barrier, not letting it stop me, but just kind of going with the flow allowed me to just keep moving forward and let it create, as I went along.
Yeah, and it seems even that your name now is still like a play on chrysalis. Learning, evolving. It's still something that's changing, and yeah.
Well, leaders evolving it's important, because I do, back to when Violet was talking about being, the character in her own movie, is I do believe everyone's a leader, whether you're leading yourself, you're leading your community, you're leading your home, or you're leading in an organization. And it's so leaders evolving to me is we're growing, changing, developing, and so it's on a continuum. We don't arrive somewhere, we just keep getting better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and it's really important to make sure that not only, like you've been saying, coaching women to be great leaders, but coach everybody to be great leaders, and to learn how to be truly gender inclusive within their business. As the leader, they need to ensure that they have the skill set to rise everybody up. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so now we'll just take a little bit of time to see if there were any questions that came through either on Zoom or on Facebook.
Yeah, there's one question. What can men do to be more inclusive towards women?
Okay, so the question was, what can men do to be more inclusive towards women? I don't know if anyone wants to take a crack at this, or if they just want me to try and do it. Does anyone feel passionate about answering it?
Well, I could add something to it. I think it's always it's important to one to listen, and to be aware of biases that you have. I coach sometimes, either men or women, men to listen for this. Sometimes, and again, please, I'm not broad brushing, but some men, when they hear women be passionate about something in the workplace, they can deem them as being emotional. And rather than they're passionate, they believe in that. And so then they just hear the emotion and they don't hear the message. So I think in an effort to be inclusive, it's really to be aware if you have that bias, right? And so that you are a deep listener, I think takes you a long way. way to being inclusive. Making sure also that women have a seat at the table so that they're part of when you are having decision-making groups, that it's balanced. If you look around and it's all men at the table, obviously you want to be looking for women who would be included in the same way you would all diversity representation. It makes for better decision-making.
Yeah, I think that was a great answer. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything to that, or if the person who was listening had a follow-up question to it. I think that was great. Something that came up recently that I was talking to the Davis Food Co-op board president about, is that we have at the Davis Food Co-op a majority women board. The vast majority is women. The ratio is 7 women to 2 men. So I was talking with her for a while about how not totally, let me finish this thought first, but we succeeded in getting women to want to be on the board of directors. We got all the women to be on the board of directors. And now we need to, I guess, switch our gears a little bit. We were really focused on, we want a bunch of women on the board, but really we want everybody on the board. We want our board to be a genuine representation of the Davis community, which is many different genders and many different ethnicities and cultural backgrounds. And the diversity of Davis is not 7 to 2 women to men. So we want everybody to run for the board of directors. Yeah. Okay, did we have any more questions from?
There's just one comment, and it's that Tracy is a true gentle leader.
Oh, okay, so we just have somebody who left a really nice comment for Tracy, and that she is a true and gentle leader.
Oh, sweet. Thank you. That was sweet. Thank you.
So we have some Tracy fans in the audience. Okay, and then if there's no more questions, then I think we'll just go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, Tracy and Brady and Violet, for meeting me here today to celebrate Women's History Month and International Women's Day, which was earlier in the month. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
It's an
Bye.
honor. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, bye.